Deputy Chief Timothy Peak, PEEK, Atlanta Police Department Field Operations Division Commander.
And can you go over what we're here to discuss today?
Yes, so recently we were made aware of a particular news article that stated a significant number of falsehoods and inaccuracies as it pertains to the crime in our city of Atlanta, but particularly the Buckhead community. And so what we really and truly wanted to do is have an opportunity to really address this article and to put facts out there so that we would actually be able to educate our residents on what's truly happening and how the Atlanta Police Department is addressing it.
Can you talk about the number of officers working in Zone 2 and citywide, what resources we have?
Sure. So when we speak of the number of officers, we have a certain number of officers as well as supervisors and a contingent of other resources that we have that are assigned to the Zone 2 precinct, which that actual total number you're looking at is more in line with somewhere around 125 officers or personnel that are assigned for public safety needs. What's critical on that particular number is that we deploy a greater number of resources to that community every single day. The Atlanta Police Department being a major agency, we're able to deploy other divisions, all discretionary units like our community services division, our motor units, and a number of other resources that we constantly deploy. What we've determined and what we know with the city of Atlanta is that crime trends often move from locations to locations. So what we do on a daily, if not almost hourly basis is to look at where crime is taking place, and we shift those resources to those neighborhoods so that we ensure that we're covering and getting the most bang to our buck. The one thing that we do know is that we have deployed a number of resources to the community, and as such, by doing that, we were able to make some significant apprehensions and other initiatives that were taking place in the Zone 2 area, we were able to, or the Buckhead area, I should say, we were able to resolve them pretty significantly and fast at that matter.
When you see a comparison drawn between Buckhead and San Francisco, what are some things that come to mind there?
Well, unfortunately, I don't believe that you can make that accurate comparison to make the Buckhead community comparable to the city of San Francisco. You're looking at a different population for the entire area. You're looking at a whole different format. What we will say is that Atlanta Police Department, although we put our resources throughout our entire city, there's not one area that we do not focus on and ensure that we provide the best services as we can to our citizens. Knowing that, we also recognize that we have criminals, people who choose to commit crimes. They are mobile. They go wherever they choose to go, and we have the best resources in place to deal with those. Will we absolutely catch every single person prior to committing a crime? Absolutely not. But what I will say is that with our investigative team, with the reorganization of our agency, as we put different resources in different places to be more effective, we have a very, very good successful rate at bringing people to justice when they do commit those crimes. Ultimately, we don't want them to, but we make sure that we do all that we can to take care of our citizens in the city of Atlanta. One of the things that we also look at is even as we look forward to this particular summer plan that we have in place for this particular summer year, it's a very robust plan to where we're able to go out and reach the community in a number of different ways, but ultimately also ensuring that we spread our manpower and our resources out throughout all days of the week based on the actual accurate crime trends so that we can address those issues. And thus far, we've been relatively successful. There will be things that happen throughout the city, but we want our citizens to know that every single person in this city is important to us, and we're going to do all that we can to protect Buckhead and the rest of our Atlanta citizens as well.
My name is Andrew Senzer. I'm the major and commander of the Zone 2 precinct, which is in the heart of Buckhead.
Can you discuss the January 3rd shooting at 262 Far Road and discuss our officer's response to that?
Sure. Well, first let me say that the article that came out had a lot of factual inaccuracies as it relates to the Atlanta police response. So that evening we had multiple gunshots outside of a very busy club, really a very busy bar district area. We had multiple officers already on the scene. We had a heavy officer presence over there. We had a very chaotic scene. Anytime you have multiple gunshots being fired and you have multiple victims, it's a very dynamic scene. The first thing our officers are going to do is try and identify a threat. After that, they're going to try and make the scene safe and then render aid to the victims, which is exactly what our officers did during the event. We located one victim, which was right outside of 262 Far Road. Our officers went to that person, rendered aid, applied a tourniquet, and then we massed multiple officers from all different zones in the city. You have to understand that when we have a critical incident like this occur, we bring the full force of the APD to bear on this particular incident. So we had officers responding from multiple different zones, coming together to look for the shooter in this incident. And we were clearing multiple parking decks, multiple areas within that space to try and find the person responsible for it.
And can you discuss some of the recent successes that we've had in Zone 2?
Absolutely. Well, beginning with this one, I'm confident in saying that, despite the fact that we had two uncooperative victims related to this shooting, that our investigators are making substantial progress, and I'm certain that we're going to be able to identify this person extremely quickly. Secondly, we had a recent shooting at Lenox Mall where an unarmed security officer was shot within minutes, and I'm talking within 10 minutes. We were able to locate two suspects and take them into custody.
Can you discuss the shooting that occurred on West Wesley Road and our response to that?
Absolutely. So we had an individual who decided to commit a random act of violence in Buckhead, shot at a jogger who was struck by his rounds as he was jogging down the street, and then proceeded to shoot at other victims. Within 4 hours, we had that suspect located and he was taken into custody. So for this article to intimate that our officers are taking a lackadaisical approach to crime fighting and that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing is just completely factually inaccurate and irresponsible. Our officers are out here every day getting out on the street, willing to risk their lives to fight crime and protect the citizens. And I think that our track record in solving these crimes is indicative of that.
Your name?
Darren Sherbaum, Deputy Chief of Strategy and Special Projects with the Atlanta Police Department.
Can you discuss or explain our current pursuit policies?
Certainly the policy of the Atlanta Police Department is to allow our officers to pursue violent felons, particularly those that are engaged with weapons and gun crimes in the city. So any officer that observes a forcible felon in their presence with a weapon being involved can pursue that individual. That also, if they have immediate knowledge that the perpetrator is in a vehicle, our policy allows them to pursue if the conditions are safe at that time.
And the policy was temporarily restricted or suspended. And can you tell us what went into what was done behind the scenes during that time when that was suspended?
As a department, we always strive to have best practices in any tool that we use to apprehend felons and fight violent crime. In this particular case, we brought in the Police Executive Research Forum, PERF, to do a top-to-bottom review of our policies and to provide us a best practices pursuit policy that we could provide for our officers.
What's the end goal when looking at a pursuit policy? What are some of the things that we try to balance with that?
What we're balancing is our ability to apprehend violent felons and our ability to provide for the safety of our communities. There's an inherent risk when we engage in pursuits. We craft a policy that recognizes that and understand that we are an urban setting and that we should equip our officers with the metrics they have to determine if a pursuit could be occurred. But a pursuit is not the only way that we apprehend violent felons. We have a camera system throughout the city. We have license plate readers. We deploy an air unit on many hours throughout the city to assist. We have many cases where apprehension is made because of our air asset. We are one of the few police departments in the state that deploys that asset. That along with our radio network throughout the city, when we have an alert of an individual that's in a vehicle, that is distributed to every zone in the city and every surrounding jurisdiction to ensure that we do everything we can to make the apprehension.
Could you discuss our commitment to public safety in our city?
Our commitment to public safety is unwavering. We are fighting crime when crime is down. We do not believe that there is a renewed effort when we see you in one neighborhood or another. Our objective is to remove dangerous individuals from the street. And it is very frustrating for us to see us arresting the same individuals over and over. But our commitment is to keep arresting those individuals until we see equal commitment from the courts, and we see our partners joining us in the effort that the right individuals that are causing harms in our community are put in jail and they remain in jail.
And finally, for us to, we're discussing a specific article today, for some of our officers to see that, how do you think what impact do you think that has?
There's a reason that you have the major of the zone and 2 deputy chiefs here today, because that painted a false picture of the women and men of this police department who every day are out on the streets fighting crime, arresting very dangerous individuals that oftentimes are more heavily armed than they are. And that article was wrong on so many different levels. And the commitment of our men and women is demonstrated every day in quality arrests that are occurring of very dangerous individuals, guns being removed from the street. And so the men and women of this department know that we recognize their efforts, and we're standing here today to ensure that those that may have read that article do not leave with the wrong impression.